All right, everybody, welcome back. Today we have a special guest and a friend of the channel, Sam here, Sam Armes. We're going to be talking about politics, crypto, and a lot more. So, Sam, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, what's going on? Thanks for having me back on, Aaron. I always love spending time with you. I love these chats, especially since it's on my focus, right, which is politics, political strategy around crypto, Web3, Bitcoin, all that good stuff. So, yeah, I've been in the political space since 2017. I'm a political strategist. So what that means is I have worked on campaigns. I've passed legislation. I passed the first anti-CBDC bill ever here in the United States, here in the state of Florida. But then I operate in pretty much all 50 states and in DC as well. So I'm just all over the place helping companies here in the US and in Asia and in Europe. So, and I'm on TikTok. So for those of you who follow me, I'm on TikTok, YouTube, X, where I kind of talk about political strategic content.
Yeah, guys, and Sam has been blowing up recently on TikTok because you've been grinding TikTok for a while, but you were like, because I remember you talking to me about it maybe like a year ago, and you're like struggling to grow, etc. But now you're popping off. Has it happened right just as the elections happen, pretty much, or?
Yeah, probably about 6 months ago, because, you know, as the populace kind of honed in on more of the election, I guess my content mattered more because I'm the only person on TikTok really talking about political strategic content, I think, and really analyzing. For example, I've been going over all of Trump's picks in his administration. I'm essentially telling everybody, you know, here's why this person was picked. Here's what you should look out for, which I think is really useful because your average person just goes, oh, well, it's a friend of Trump, or, oh, it's for this reason. There's a lot more to every story. So now that I think Trump's won and the election's settled, people are a lot more interested in my perspective.
Yeah, awesome. And you stayed consistent with it the whole time, which I think is like it's a general rule for content in general. If you want to get followers on the internet, you're going to have I think pretty much everyone had a period of growth where they were just posting in stagnation and then eventually they pop off and one video takes off. So you just got to keep pushing. But today, guys, you know, Trump, as you're watching this, Trump has won the election. So we're going to be talking about what happened there and then, you know, all that other stuff. So, Sam, what are your first thoughts, I guess, of the election results that happened?
Yeah, obviously they're very good for me. They're very good for crypto. They're very good for our industry. They're good for me because, and what I teach people is politics is like betting. It's like investing in venture capital. It's like sports betting. Like you either lose or you win, right? And so as a lobbyist, you try to kind of bet on one side or the other so that no matter who wins, you have influence. But because Kamala Harris was so anti-crypto and I kind of remained in that stance where I showed everyone, hey, the people she's got around her anti-crypto. Elizabeth Warren's going to have a lot of power if Kamala stays in office. I put all my eggs in the Donald Trump basket because I also, the numbers that I was seeing and kind of the political math that I did, even on your previous show, talking about what I think he might win, I thought Trump would win, so I felt comfortable with that bet. So now that he has won, just like in the real world, you kind of cash in, which means talking to all the people that we gave money to, we donated to a lot of political campaigns, talking to some of the administrative people, getting a lot of insider information about what are the moves that are going on. Because you have to remember, like we have 4 years of an administration. So all these people I know are going to be moving to DC. A lot of people that I don't know are going to be moving out of DC. So now I'm going to have people in various positions within Washington, DC that I can talk to and check in on and say, what's the real story? What's going on? And Trump's not even in office yet, but we're already seeing like Bitcoin's pumping. I think all coins are going to be pumping soon because they all knew what a Trump victory meant for the industry. Because I think now the United States is going to lead.
Yeah, for sure. And as I'm recording this video, Bitcoin's at 93K, and this is just happening,
Wow.
I guess, whatever, like the past week or so. So the market is already reacting super favorably towards Trump. We know Trump is super bullish on Bitcoin. Pretty much a lot of people around him are bullish on crypto and Bitcoin as well. Trump has his own DeFi project. You know, he has NFTs. And, you know, Senator Cynthia Lummis has, you know, completely advocated for having a U.S. Bitcoin strategic reserve, which is absolutely insane and leaves open a lot of possibilities of where the price could go. I didn't think it would run this fast. I was not expecting 100K Bitcoin, even if he did win this quickly. But it's, you know, price targets are kind of getting wacky in my head where I'm like, I don't know, could it go to 300K? Is it going to, you know, is this, you know, is the market, obviously the market's high, is this kind of a local top right now we're seeing? But yeah, and we talked about it in in the last time we the map you kind of did for your prediction the last time we talked was pretty spot on. If you want to go over the
so
map or whatever.
Yeah, and I can show you. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Yep.
So this is the official election map, which is funny because, by the way, California still hasn't counted all the votes,
How?
which is hilarious. And we just officially, like last week or beginning of this week, claimed Arizona as a win and Nevada as a win. I got everything on this map correct except for New Hampshire. I really thought he would win New Hampshire. Obviously, it was very close. Had he just gotten 20,000 more votes, he would have won New Hampshire. So I wasn't too bad off, but I predicted that he would win Nevada, which he did. I predicted that he would win Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And I said he wouldn't win Virginia, even though I really hoped that he would. But I said he was going to win North Carolina, no problem. I knew he'd win Georgia. And so this is kind of like what I do is I look at the data, and of course I could have been wrong. So it's easy to kind of brag about this now that I'm right. But you can only deal with what you're seeing in some of the momentum that you're looking at. So for example, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania in presidential elections normally vote the same way. They're both heavily unionized states. The unions weren't really backing Kamala Harris. They actually didn't like her. They liked Joe Biden more. And unions were starting to flip over to Trump. So because I knew that, and unions, by the way, every union vote you get, you can almost times it by 2 or 3 because union voters also organize to help out the party win and get other people to vote. So I knew in my gut that we would probably win Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. I was also looking at the turnout numbers. Republican turnout was a lot higher. Republicans were outpacing Democrats in some of the key counties in Pennsylvania. I wonder if I click on it, maybe we can go into more detail. But then like with Michigan, for example, Michigan has a large Muslim population, and Muslims had come out and endorsed Trump this time, which was huge. Ilhan Omar did not endorse Kamala Harris. So the Muslim community in a large way broke for Donald Trump. I think the margins were 30 to 35%, which is huge because the Democrats need a very specific coalition to win. And if any of that coalition starts fracturing, they don't have the numbers. So that was my bet on Michigan. North Carolina and Georgia, I knew were a lock. They kept saying how they could swing votes. Joe Biden in North Carolina, there's only a 1% difference. So they thought he could take North Carolina. Joe Biden could. He almost did. So they thought that would translate to Kamala Harris. It did not. Trump won it by huge points. Same with Georgia. They thought Georgia might be a swing state. Obviously not. Florida, what's funny is, Florida voted for Obama twice. Yeah. And now it is over 13 percentage points for Donald Trump. So Florida is going to be a red state. They thought they could flip Texas. They've been saying this the past 2 to 3 elections. I knew this would never happen because Hispanics have gone super far Republican, right? So the 2 big states with a lot of Hispanics that are relevant on the Electoral College are Texas and Florida. So Texas going for Donald Trump was not a surprise, but in this margin is huge. I knew he would probably win Arizona once again because of Hispanics. Utah is always a given, but then Nevada, 3 percentage points in Nevada. I knew the no tax on tips would be a big deal in Nevada, right? Because Nevada's got a huge service industry. I also figured that Nevada would swing further right because of, once again, Hispanics. And so I think that was just a very big game changer, as well as just, Nevada's a heavily service economy dependent state. And so it's the service economy that over the past couple of years, inflation, I think, has hit some of the worst. So, all that being said, and let's see if I can look in. Does it give me details on Pennsylvania? Yeah, like if you look at some of these counties, like there are a lot of swing counties in here that last time were blue that are now red. And that's a pretty big deal. I think all the bright red counties are the ones that flipped. I could be wrong, but for example, this county right here,
I think the more red it is, the more like Republican it is.
That's how, I believe that's true, but it's just weird to me because some of these counties should also be very red. I'm trying to figure out these counties right outside Philadelphia. One of the reasons that's a big deal is these are huge suburbs and they went blue for Biden last time around. But this time they did not. And then we're going to have the House and the Senate, which is also a huge deal. So for the Senate, I knew we were going to pick up Montana. I knew we were going to pick up North Dakota. Pennsylvania, I'm surprised. We won that Senate seat. The Michigan and Wisconsin Senate seats are a little bit fishy to me, and same with Arizona and even Nevada. Like they're very small margins. I think, if Trump won those states, it's very weird to me that he didn't pick up those Senate seats, right? Because Trump won by such a huge margin. But we still have a comfortable margin in the Senate, right? Which means Trump can appoint anyone he wants to the Supreme Court. He can appoint judges. He won't have a problem getting through any of his appointees. And then we kept the House, which that's a very big deal. Right. So now Trump has the authority to pass any legislation he wants, because Democrats could just say, we're not going to pass any legislation. And then the Trump agenda is like done. Right.
Yeah.
But the fact that he has the House now and actually gained a seat. Right. Actually, I think they flipped a couple of seats. But that's crazy. Right. So the fact that he has the trifecta along with a conservative Supreme Court means that they're going to be able to kind of run a train with his agenda, which has the Democrats very scared. But now, I mean, think of who we have in the administration now. We have Elon Musk. We have Vivek Ramaswamy, right? They're going to be heading up the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, which I think is going to be a nonprofit, so they can work on the side with government. We have as many pro-crypto people in power as we could wish for. Gensler's going to be gone. He'll be removed as chair soon after Trump's elected, and then replaced by Trump once his term is up. The administrative state is going to come to heel, which is just fantastic. And Trump's been appointing a lot of loyalists, which is a way for Trump to just say, hey, like, you're the Trump stand-in. So Trump's going to be telling all these people what to do, and they're just going to follow his orders, right? And that's perfect. I mean, that's perfect. It's perfect for the crypto industry. I'm excited, and think we're going to have an incredible 4 years. Elon Musk being essentially a permanent Republican now, he said he's already getting to work on the midterms, right? Which is 2 years away. So he wants to ensure that we keep the House and the Senate. So having him as an ally is a game changer. So I'm very bullish. And Bitcoin's shown that, right? The Bitcoin timeline and price has condensed. I think America leading and American putting Bitcoin on our balance sheet, you can't tell me that the charts can predict stuff like that. It shortens the timeline a huge amount. So I'm as happy as I could be. I hope all these international companies finally see that the U.S. is a great place to be. And really, they should be thinking about coming into the U.S. market now rather than waiting, because now's the best time.
Yeah, I think we're at the point now. It's like I had personally felt that no matter who won the election, the U.S. was going to have to swing the crypto. But now it's like programmed and it's inevitable. I think it's like, it's insane I don't want to keep talking about the price of Bitcoin, but it's pretty wild how we're running this hot. And it's like, we know as soon as Trump gets in office, he's going to fire Gensler, which is probably going to make the market run. If we're just, That's probably going to send the market off, because I don't think people legitimately understood how much damage the SEC was causing towards the crypto industry. I mean, they were literally like, and I'm somebody who's, works in the crypto industry, a lot of these, big blockchain companies, et cetera, they were having to spend all their legal fees and all their legal times just dealing with the SEC. No one else, literally just with the SEC. And it had been a huge burden. So, I think it's really good to, hopefully we get some, I'm assuming, we're going to get somebody who's the SEC who's pro-crypto. I think that's pretty much a given. Right. And hopefully we get some good regulatory clarity to let people, do stuff in this industry. Because we talked about this last time, but it's like, if you push away crypto, it's going to go somewhere. It's an international market. It's not like the stock market. It's not just, in the USA, et cetera. But yeah, and I think it was really interesting to see, like you talked about Florida, and I was looking at that after the election. I was looking at like the past history of Florida, because I know it went big for Trump pretty much every election, but I was surprised to see how big it went for Obama. And you're in Florida, so like, what do you think? There's just really been that big of a momentum shift, or do you think what do you think it is?
Well, they say Florida is a red state that voted for Obama twice. We've always had a red governor. We've had a Republican governor since 2000. Trump won Florida by like 0.8% against Hillary Clinton. Then he won it again by maybe 2 to 3%. I think it was 3% in 2020. Now it's 13%. So Florida shows you how dynamics change. Florida used to be a swing state, Florida was the reason George Bush won in the 2000 election because they thought it was going to go Democrat. But now Florida is such a solid red state that it's scared to be, go Republican for, the next 10 years. So that happens for a variety of reasons, but one is just trends change. Democrats had hoped that Hispanics were going to be a part of their voter base for a long time, and that's not true anymore, right? Democrats have hemorrhaged Hispanic votes. Muslims and Arab Americans were supposed to be a huge part of the Democratic base. 30% or 35% of Muslim and Arab Americans voting for Donald Trump. Like, that's a pretty big deal considering, say, in 2016, that might have been like 5 or 10, right? So their core demographics are being hemorrhaged. And the problem is we've seen a total realignment in the Republican and Democratic parties, and that doesn't just go away, right? And so I've seen, let me see actually if I can pull it up. There's a map of America's shift, rightward shift. Let's see what pulls up. Images, can I pull it? Okay, so here it is. This is not a complete map because California still hasn't even finished their vote counts, but let me share my screen.
Of course.
Yeah, isn't that ridiculous? Check this out, dude. Look at this. So the red arrow, and the longer the red arrow, the more of a right-leaning shift. So the entire country has shifted to the right. Look at this. Look in New York, right? Like, New York shifted right. Massachusetts shifted right. Like, even he lost these states, but they all shifted right, which is crazy, right? Now, you have Colorado shifting left because I think a lot of Democrats have moved to Colorado from, say, California. See, it's so odd to me that there's nothing in California, because I think the time this was published, California still hadn't really fully counted, so it's ridiculous. But, dude, just look. And just with this much of the country, it doesn't matter we don't have Washington, Oregon, California. You can win with just what's right here, right? So, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, PA, the swing states he needed. Boom, done. Look at Georgia and North Carolina. Look at Texas. Look at Florida. Florida was already red, and it shifted even more red, right? And that's a cool demographic. Even Rhode Island shifted to the right. Rhode Island's one of the bluest states, right? And you can see the trajectory of Florida. Look at Florida in 2012 when it voted for Obama. It moves a little bit more to the right in 2016, more to the right in 2020. Boom, what a shift. What a shift that is, right? Tell me that's not crazy. So yeah. I wish I could see more states like that. That'd be awesome. But it's a good little example. I love looking at data. Look at that one arrow in Hawaii. Hawaii even shifted more. Kamala won Hawaii, but that doesn't mean there wasn't a Republican shift there. So it's crazy, dude. It's which for me, once again, that means I feel more comfortable with the bet that I made. And of course, I've worked with Democrats. If I need to work with Democrats, I can always work with Democrats. That's fine. But this also tells me that if they keep up this momentum for the midterms, Republicans could hold on to the midterm election too and still have the House and the Senate in the midterms, which is once again a big deal. That's 2 more years of an uninterrupted Trump agenda. So, which for me is pro-crypto, pro-Bitcoin. And hopefully now that Democrats have been smacked, right, that they'll have to be okay, we got to be they'll maybe go more pro-crypto, right? And they'll say, hey, we have to be even more pro-crypto than Republicans, right? Hopefully they double down and don't end up fighting just because it's Trump's agenda. Right? I'll be very disappointed if Democrats vote against a Bitcoin strategic reserve just because it's Trump. They might, but if they're smart, they will be calling for it as well and say, hey, we got to do this, And I think some Democrats will, but we'll see if partisan politics trumps common sense.
Yeah, there's, on that note, it is possible that, they do try and still be anti-crypto. I do think they're going to probably go pro-crypto, though. A lot of the holder base for crypto is, within minorities and their, own voter population. They probably lost some voters because of the crypto vote. It is definitely possible. But I also want to bring up
a lot of money.
Yeah, they did. I think those were the big funders probably of, some of the Republican, uh, Trump's campaign and everything. I know probably
Right.
Coinbase was funneling money.
Coinbase, Fair Shake, the Super PAC, the Winklevoss
Yep,
brothers.
Gemini,
Yeah.
Kraken. But do you think you look at this map and you see how big of a swing there was in America? Do you think some of this, I watched a video the other day talking about how much podcast appearance Trump had versus Kamala, and how this was kind of I guess, the podcast election, or really the election where traditional media was kind of, putting the casket to bed, and now it's, all about the new media and independent media. Do you think because, Trump dominated the podcast scene, he dominated with the just independent media in general, and he also had a cast of characters who had Elon Musk coming on podcasts, he had JD Vance coming on podcasts, so it wasn't just him. Do you think that played a large role in this?
100% a super smart observation by you, because he had a team of podcasters. Trump would go on a podcast, then Vance, then Vivek, then Elon. Kamala wasn't doing anything. And then Kamala's surrogates weren't going to. Was Tim Walz ever on a podcast?
They did one thing, he did a collab with AOC, I think.
Did he? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and played video games. They were so bad at it.
It was cringe.
And 100%. Elon, with Twitter backing him as well, the final Joe Rogan endorsement, 100% new media played a big part in solidifying probably the independent voter base, because that's what people watch now. And also, the most important thing, it made Trump seem very normal. You sit down and you listen to this dude talk for 2 hours or an hour and a half with Aiden Ross, right? We saw younger people voting Republican more so than they ever have, right? So, Aiden Ross was a big deal. The Paul brothers talking to Trump were a big deal because it made him very relatable. In 2016 and in 2020, they tried to make it so that Trump was like Hitler, right? They were like, oh, he's a bad guy who's going to kill you. And to paint that picture of a bad person, it has to be a picture that's frozen in time and still. But when you listen to Trump sit down for an hour or 2 hours, you're like, oh, this is a pretty normal guy, right? When you hear Theo Vaughn interviewing JD Vance and they're talking about, illicit activities, right? And what they would do in their past, they're like, oh, that's a really relatable person. Right? JD Vance did an excellent job with media because they tried to paint him as weird, as a creep. But then he crushed it in the debate against Walz. He crushed it in the debate. Then when he went on podcast, people were like, yo, this is a cool dude.
Yep.
Who wouldn't go to a bar with JD Vance?
Yeah.
Right? So, yes, the podcast flipped the narrative, because then what happens with those podcasts? 1-minute clips all over the internet. For every podcast they did, there were 10 1-minute clips. And so they did at least 2 to 3 podcasts a week. Trump did his rallies, which was huge. Just strategic media. They were genius, great, smart. And with a third of the budget. Kamala Harris's budget was $1 billion. Trump's was maybe 300 million. So shows you that money does not always equal victory and power. And big donors, and being a big donor does not equal control. I have to tell people that all the time. People will see Donald Trump get a huge donation. It matters for influence, but it does not give them all the power in the world. And that's why people are like, oh, look at all this money Trump's accepting. And at some point, they have to give him money if they want any influence at all. Because if you don't give Trump money and he wins, you have no influence. So sometimes it works the direct opposite way of people think. It's not, oh, I'm giving you money, so now I own you. It's like, hey, if you don't give that guy money and he wins, you have no say at all. They're not even going to take a meeting. So I think I'm very excited.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's kind of been one of those things where if you think about it, maybe Trump is probably not paying he's not paying for podcast appearance.
No, he didn't pay for a single one.
Yeah, so
to my knowledge, he didn't pay for a single one.
Yeah, and he didn't do, he did I think it was tens and maybe 40 podcasts or something. Like he went on, it wasn't just like the big ones. He went on multiple of them, so it kind of got comfortable where you'd seen him around a lot of people, young people. Like he did one with Aiden Ross. He did one, with older
the Nelk
people.
Boys, right?
Yeah, Nelk Boys, Aiden Ross. He did with Dr. Phil. He did one with Joe Rogan, of course, and a bunch of other ones. So I think it really was like a very comfortable feeling he kind of brought to the American people and all that. And also another thing is the fact that his marketing team is just genius, and they're really able. It was kind of an accident, like not really an accident, but I don't think he planned to go to jail. I don't think he planned to get potentially shot. But those created really big moments.
He owned it.
They owned it and they backpacked off of it. And I think although like those things did not happen to Kamala, there were probably some moments in her campaign that her campaign team probably could have backpacked off of, but they didn't really do it. Like there was never really any. It felt like there was one point where they kind of had some momentum when it was really when the JD Vance, FUD was going on when they were trashing him. I feel like that's when Kamala got some momentum, but they were never really able to capitalize off of it. And it kind of felt like just a shitcoin going up and then getting dumped quickly. They weren't able to, keep the rally going, which Trump's team was able to do throughout the entire time. They were like, every time the momentum got down, they found another angle to come up out of it. And they, JD Vance as well. Like, I remember that on Twitter when everyone was talking shit about him. He went on the debate. He crushed the debate. And, you found out he was like an intellectual and able to, have really good conversation. He destroyed Tim Walz, which was super good. I think that played a big role in the whole thing. If JD Vance flopped, I think it might have been, I think Trump still wins. Maybe, I think the VP matters a lot. Just with sentiment and everything.
It does.
People don't really like Tim Walz.
Like we're talking about. Like Walz was a weird guy.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas Vance was a bro. So Vance was on Rogan. Vance was on Theo Vaughn. Like it's just another picture. It's just constant media domination. It allows you to be another Trump. So you're spot on 100%.
Yeah, and I think we're getting to the age now where it's like if you can't go on Rogan, you can't go on podcasts and perform, you probably shouldn't even run for president. Like honestly, it's like if
Not
the fact that
take. When you saw CNN is firing a bunch of people and MSNBC is going bankrupt and they got to sell it.
They do.
Yeah, and so the people at the Daily Wire were like, should we buy MSNBC? Yeah, dude, like traditional media is crushed. And this was a huge victory for Twitter, X, and like independent media, right? Like this was an ex-YouTube election because podcasts are not on CNN, right? Memes are not on CNN. So this was a new social platform election, and that's a huge power shift.
Yeah, awesome, man. Yeah, it's been I'm super excited for what's coming to crypto. I don't even know where we're gonna go in 2025. I think it's gonna be absolutely insane. My price targets have just moved up as we're making this video.
Gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be really cool. I think everybody who's in the industry right now in some sort of way is about to win big. I'm not just talking about the prices going up. I'm talking about kind of your positioning in, the world. Like I think the crypto industry is going to really blow up, and this is going to be, I think, the cycle where it really gets legitimized. Like where it's, it's kind of always been a laughing stock industry if we're just being honest outside of our bubble. But I think this is the real one when things come to life with, BlackRock backing it, the U.S. government getting into it. So it looks like we're going to win big. So if you're in there and, you're not happy right now, just hang on. I think it's going to happen. But yeah, man, I don't really have anything else. Did you have any last comments or anything?
No, I appreciate you having on as always. Maybe I'll see you when you're in Virginia because I may be visiting DC around the same time. But happy to always come on here and talk politics and analysis and strategy anytime you want, dude. Really, I do appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, guys. I love having Sam on the channel. He, brings an angle that I don't have and everything, so it's really helpful. And if you guys aren't already, where should they follow you?
Follow me on YouTube, TikTok, X. It's all just Samuel Armes, ARMES. So just type those in, you'll find me easily, and then you can just keep up with my content.
All right, yeah. Thank you guys. Make sure to follow me too. Aaron Bremser _. It's all right here. So, yeah. Thank you for watching.